Welcome to my channel, and today I will be reading you a scary story titled The Man at the End of the Bar. So let's begin. I used to bartend at a small place just outside of Louisville, Kentucky. It wasn't a busy bar, more of a locals-only type spot. Regulars came in, had their usual drinks, talked about nothing, and went home. But there was one night that I'll never forget, one that still makes me question what followed. It was a Tuesday, just after 11 p.m. There were only 3 people left: an older guy, named Red, a woman in her 40s who drank quietly at the corner, and a man who no one had ever seen before. He'd been sitting at the end of the bar for over an hour, just sitting, no drink, no movement, no expression, just watching. He wore this faded brown trench coat, even though it was warm that night. His face was pale, almost gray under the dim bar light, and his eyes were hollow. I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but they genuinely looked hollow, sunken in, almost as if there was no life in them. I noticed his hands too. They never moved. They just stayed flat on the bar, like he was frozen in time. I finally walked over to him and asked, "Can I get you anything?" He turned his head slowly, and in the calmest, driest voice I've ever heard, he said, "She's going to die tonight." I blinked. "I'm sorry." He didn't respond. He just looked down the bar at the woman in the corner. Then he got up. No drink, no interaction with anyone. We walked out into the night. I was disturbed, of course, but I chalked it up to just another creepy drunk. Maybe he was mentally ill. I tried to shake it off, but the words haunted me. "She's going to die tonight." The woman left about 15 minutes later. Her name was Melissa. She was a regular, always polite, always kept to herself. As she paid her tab and walked out, I felt this overwhelming urge to stop her. I didn't. I wish I had. The next morning, I came in for my shift and saw police cars outside. My stomach dropped. The owner was already there, pale and trembling. He told me that Melissa had been found dead in her apartment, strangled. The place had been ransacked, but the weirdest thing was that nothing had been taken. Not her wallet, not her phone, nothing. The police questioned us all, of course. I told them about the man, gave them every detail I could remember, but they didn't find him. No one else remembered seeing him that night. The security camera footage glitched. The exact time frame when he was supposedly there was lost, like it had been overwritten or corrupted. But here's what truly broke me. A week later, I found something behind the bar, wedged between 2 bottles. A folded piece of yellow paper. No one had seen it before. I opened it. It said in perfect block handwriting, "She didn't listen." The next one won't either. There was no name, no signature, just that. Quit the job 2 days later. Sometimes I still dream about that man. He's always sitting at the end of the bar, hands flat, trench coat on, waiting, watching. So I hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe for more content. And I will see you in the next video. Welcome back, Reddit. It's me. You know how it is. Another round of terrifying tales from the internet's most haunted subreddit, or Nah Sleep. Just a quick reminder before we dive in, if you love this content and want more of it, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future uploads. Also, I will be doing another live stream very soon. Thank you all for the incredible support. And now on to the stories. Story 3. Last Call by Lightheaded Mage. This happened in 2022 in a small bar outside of Boise, Idaho. I wasn't a bartender or a bouncer, just a customer, a regular. It was my little escape, my routine. Go in after work, sit at the same stool, have a couple beers, and unwind. The bar was called the Hollow Oak, and it lived up to the name. Wood-paneled walls, dim lights, and the smell of old smoke soaked into everything. Most nights were slow, especially Thursdays. That's why I noticed him. He sat 4 stools down from me, wearing a hoodie with the hood up, hands folded like he was praying. I'd never seen him before. He didn't order a drink, just stared straight ahead. Not at the bartender, not at the TV, just into space. After about 30 minutes of silence, I leaned over and said, "You all right, man?" He didn't answer, didn't even flinch. The bartender, Andy, walked over and told me quietly, "Don't talk to him." "He's one of those people," I asked. "What people?" Andy looked around nervously, then whispered, "He's come in before. Same time, same stool, same behavior. And always on the last Thursday of the month. The weird part is, he's never paid. And the security footage never shows him coming in or leaving." I thought he was messing with me, but he was dead serious. I laughed it off until closing time. It was just me, Andy, and the man in the hoodie. No music, no talking, just silence. Andy flipped the lights on and called out, "Last call." That's when the man in the hoodie turned his head and looked directly at me. His face was wrong. Not in a disfigured way, just wrong. His features didn't quite match. His mouth was slightly too wide. His eyes were set too far apart, and they weren't blinking. Just watching, and without moving his lips. I heard a voice in my head. A voice that sounded like it was scraping the inside of my skull. "You shouldn't be here." I stumbled off the stool. Andy looked at me like I was pale as a ghost, and I probably was. "I'm leaving," I said. "You should too." Andy shook his head. "I can't. I'm not allowed to close up until he leaves." When I turned around to look through the front window, I saw the man in the hoodie still sitting there, but Andy was gone. The next morning I came back. The place was locked and there was police tape across the door. Learned later that Andy had been found behind the bar. No sign of trauma, no wounds, just gone, like the life had been vacuumed out of him. The security footage, once again, corrupted. One long, static-filled gap from midnight to 2 a.m., I talked to one of the other bartenders a week later. She said the man in the hoodie came every month, sat there silently. Every couple of years, someone who worked the bar on a Thursday just disappeared. They call him the last call, man. And if you ever find yourself alone in a nearly empty bar, and you see someone sitting silently with a hood up, don't speak to him. Don't even look, because if he looks back, you may never leave. And now, a special bonus story from an alternate dimension, where my writers seem to have somehow gotten their hands on some of your comments. Here's the story. Man refuses service at a restaurant. What happens next is genius. By Rorschach Inc. I was working security for a downtown restaurant and nightclub. There were these two guys, I'll call them J and K, that caused nothing but problems whenever they came in. They wanted to cause trouble and fight the bouncers. So they got banned. So one night they show up, get refused entry, and start causing a scene. I go out to tell them to calm down, expecting the usual trash talking and threats. They actually complied and walked away. I was confused, but whatever. An hour later, I'm inside, and I hear screaming outside. I look out and I see J and K running full speed towards the club, with about 10 cops behind them. Apparently, they had tried to break into a car, and a cop had finally caught up to them. As they're being arrested, they're still screaming that the cops are racist, that they're beating them for no reason, etc. I go outside to see what I can do to help, but really there's nothing I can do. The manager comes out and asks what happened. I fill him in. Then we start laughing. Turns out that was their plan all along. Their goal was to get banned from the club, and then accuse the cops of beating them up, racism, etc., to get us shut down. We checked the cameras and confirmed that they had planned it out. They even had the audacity to demand to speak to the owner, who had also been a cop in a different state. We told them that she would be there the next day, and that they could talk to her then. Next morning, they show up, demanding to talk to her. She lets them in, hears them out, tells them that she's not going to pay them. But if they clean up the mess they made the night before, she'll pay them $40. They agreed. She watched them clean up, then gave them each $20 and kicked them out. And that concludes this installment of Terrifying Tales from Our No Sleep. If you liked this content, make sure you check out my podcast where I publish similar episodes, all written and performed by myself. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Welcome to my channel, where we tell scary stories. This is Story 2, The Back Room. Back in 2015, I worked security at a bar in a mid-sized town in New Mexico. It was a shady place, one of those bars that looked closed even when it was open. The kind of joint where the jukebox only played old country songs, and the bathroom door never locked. You get the picture? The strangest thing about this bar was the back room. Everyone called it that, the back room, like it was some separate world, was locked at all times, no windows, and the owner, Carlos, was the only one with a key. Staff weren't allowed in. I asked about it once, and Carlos looked at me dead in the eyes and said, "Don't go in there unless you want something following you home." I thought it was a joke, a scare tactic. But the way he said it, I never forgot it. One night, around 1:30 a.m., the place was almost empty. Just a couple making out in the booth, and a guy passed out at the bar. I was standing near the pool table, scrolling through my phone, when I heard a knock. From inside the back room, it was quiet, just a tap, 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 but but unmistakable. I froze. My first thought was maybe Carlos was in there, but his car wasn't outside. I walked closer and the knocking stopped. Then it came again, louder this time. I pressed my ear to the door and I swear to God I heard breathing, labored, wheezing breathing like someone was gasping through broken ribs. I banged on the door and said, "Who's in there?" Nothing. Then, a whisper, "Let me out." I jumped back. I wasn't imagining it. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't tired. Someone or something was in that room. I called Carlos. He picked up on the second ring, sounding wide awake. I told him what I'd heard, and he went dead silent for a long time. Finally, he said, "Do not open that door." I asked him what was inside, just said it doesn't matter. Lock up. Leave it alone. I felt sick, almost left right then, but curiosity. You know how it is. Curiosity always wins. Around 2 a.m. after everyone left, I walked back to the room and stood in front of it. Just standing there made my skin crawl. The air felt heavier, like something was pressing against me. I reached out to knock, but the door swung open. By itself, I didn't wait. I ran out of that bar and sat in my car until the sun came up. When Carlos found me in the morning, I told him the door opened by itself. He just nodded. Yeah, I figured as much. He fired me the next day, said I stayed too long. But I know what I heard. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I can still hear it. Let me out. And I know deep down that whatever was behind that door is still knocking. Thanks for listening. If you like scary stories, stay tuned for more.